Inside Politics. Our guest today is Metro Councilman Large Bob Mendes. We're talking about the proposal for a $2.2 billion dome stadium that was announced this week by the Cooper administration and the Tennessee Titans to be built over on the East Bank. Councilman, there certainly is a certain amount of civic pride coming with this idea that Nashville's going to build a dome stadium and we could be hosting a Super Bowl, an NCAA Final Four, WrestleMania, maybe even college football playoffs or the college football championship series. When you raise questions about a deal like this, are you ready to be labeled as a party pooper and the Grinch that stole Christmas?
I hope not. I literally, again, the actual written terms of a non-binding term sheet got to me 24 hours ago, and if asking questions on that makes me a party pooper, I guess that's true then.
Now, there are rumors at the Metro Courthouse and up at the Capitol Hill that one of the reasons this is coming now is because the Cooper administration and probably the Titans would like to get this over and done with and pretty much put to bed before the state legislature comes back to town. The state legislature is playing a big role in it, but there are times increasingly frequently with the legislature and the council are kind of at odds over things. And there's some worry that after what happened with the Republican National Convention not coming here in 2024 and probably not in 2028 either, at least Metro's not showing any interest in that the state might move through the legislature to rescind the $500 million it's putting in the deal.
That's the word running around the street. I don't know whether it's true. I find the state hard to predict. And listen, the reality is that final approval of a stadium can't happen before at least March, is what I'm being told by the direct participants in the negotiation. And so if the legislature is going to mess with this, they're going to have time.
We talked about this first batch of legislation. What is the second batch or other batches of legislation that are coming to the council about this plan?
Well, after they turn the 27-page non-binding term sheet into a big, fat, thick stack of final, actual legal contracts for people to sign.
Do you think that might be 1,000 pages long?
I don't know how big it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of agreements, and they're going to be thick, and they're going to be dense legalese, and all of those will have to come to the council and the sports authority for approval. And I understand that they don't nobody's taken fingers to a keyboard yet to put those together. That's yet to happen.
So what are the other things likely to be? Just the final approval of all the deals of the big one more big piece of ordinance legislation?
I assume that it might be multiple pieces of legislation. There's going to be a lease, there's going to be a development agreement, there's going to be some sort of agreement for shared parking. Somebody's got to have an agreement about how to split up the money for the various revenue streams that have been created. This is a very complex legal arrangement that none of the documents exist yet, other than the brief non-binding term sheet.
The Dome Stadium is not the only project Metro's working on. That the state also is providing some funding. They're planned to give some funding also to what's going to happen with the renovations at the Fairgrounds Speedway and bringing NASCAR back there. What's happened on that? It was supposed to come, and yet it seems to have been stopped. For a while, there was problems with having all the seats filled on the fair board, but that's been happening, but nothing has moved forward.
Yeah, I think I'm 15 months into my prediction that the racetrack deal will never come together. And so at least 15 months ago, it was going sluggishly enough to make me feel like it was never going to come together. I think the mayor's office would be crazy to put the two deals before the council at the same time, and clearly they want the football stadium, and so I just don't think I think they're going to run out of time this term to do the racetrack.
Is it driving the council crazy having both of them at the same time, or is there some of the reason why you don't think the fairgrounds thing is going to happen?
Well, both the council is a bunch of part-timers. We all have jobs, and so trying to have us work through two, 9 and 10-figure deals at the same time, it's a lot of bandwidth for the public and the council. And then secondly, the racetrack will require 27 votes instead of 2/3 majority in the council, and I do not think that they can get 2/3 vote for the racetrack deal.
And there's a reason it takes 27 votes. Normally legislation takes 21, but in this case there was an amendment adopted to the Metro Charter that said anything that happens at the fairground that's a major capital change out there, a new building or major renovation, there has to be a 2/3 vote of the council.
Right. Any demolition of an existing building requires a 2/3 vote, and to do the racetrack deal would require demolition. Therefore, they need 27 votes.
Obviously, the biggest deadline for all this to get done in terms of the stadium is the 2026 NFL season, and of course, the Titans have to still be playing in Nissan Stadium in the 2025 season. So everything looks like pretty tight deadlines all the way around.
Yeah, from what I understand, they would like to have about 3 years for construction, and so that means break ground, sometime by end of summer 2023.
Building it where the current parking lots are.
Right.
So that it wouldn't impact necessarily directly, but if you're going over there to go to a game in 24 and 25, you might have to figure out where you're going to park.
And parking is, parking got shortchanged on the soccer stadium discussion, and people are acutely aware that if you're going to try to play football next to a construction site, you're going to have to figure out something about parking.
Metro Councilman Large Bob Mendes is our guest. We're talking about the new $2.2 billion dome stadium on the East Bank, and the questions about that. Back to continue our conversation after you watch these messages.